Hey everyone, if your figure drawings look stiff or flat or feel like they've been ironed onto a page, you're probably making this mistake. Hey everybody, Aaron Blaze here, and so I want to talk to you today about why your drawings might be looking flat, or like I said earlier, like they're ironed onto a page. So often I'm looking at young artists' portfolios and drawings, and they have wonderful line work, but the drawings themselves, especially the figures, are flat. And the biggest problem that I see is that young artists, they haven't learned yet to use the depth cues, overlapping shapes, in order to create depth in a drawing. And so today I want to take you through a quick video and give you a little example of what I'm talking about and how to correct those drawings. So let's come on over to the drawing board. So here I've prepared a drawing. I did this drawing of a little superhero sketch that I did. I tried to show something that had decent line work for somebody that, this is a typical drawing that I might see in a portfolio, where I see a nice pose, I see nice line work, but it's very flat. And when you look at it, when you start breaking down what's actually there, some of these overlapping lines don't make sense. So I want to talk to you, first of all, there's several things that we see in our natural life that we take for granted that give us depth cues. There's linear perspective, which is the idea of lines that recede and come together as they get further away. We've all heard about vanishing points and that sort of thing. So like when you look at a railroad track and the lines of the railroad track come together, that's linear perspective. That's them coming together at a distant point. There's that one type of perspective. Then there's also atmospheric perspective, where as things get further away, because of all the atmosphere that we see, they tend to come together in value and color. They become more gray, and the value becomes lighter or more of a mid-tone. Now, the other cue that we see as humans, and we just automatically see this as depth, is overlapping shapes. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. If I'm holding this hand here and I hold this hand here, this hand is overlapping this hand, and so you know that this hand is closer. It's also bigger, so we see that as well. But there's also the overlapping shapes, and that's what you need to remember when you're drawing your figures. Our bodies are made up of different shapes and different parts, and those parts will overlap. If I'm holding my hand out towards you like this, my hand is overlapping my forearm, which is overlapping my upper arm, which is going to be overlapping my shoulder, and so on. And so if you don't show the line cues that show those overlapping shapes, your drawing is going to flatten out. So let's come back here again and I'll show you what I mean. If we look at the arm that's coming forward, the hand is overlapping the arm, and that's fine. So we know the hand is in front of the arm. But if you look at these lines, the way that I've drawn them, and I've seen many drawings like this, these lines don't really make any sense because the forearm is overlapping the upper arm, and yet the way that I've drawn these lines, it feels the opposite. And so I see so many portfolios where artists are thinking about the quality of their line and making sure they're getting it nice and chiseled and clean, but they're really forgetting some of the more important parts, which are those overlapping shapes. We want to think about that hand, which is even the fingers. Notice how the fingers kind of feel like they're flattening out on the top of the hand. And so I want to show you a few things on how to fix all this. And also, once again, the arm, these legs, the arm receding. Look at how this is overlapping and it flattens out. Now we have size changes. The hand that's further away is smaller than the hand that's in the foreground, and that's good. But the way these shapes the way I've drawn these shapes, they feel flat. And this is something that I see a lot. So what I want to do is I want to take these two, let's push them back. Okay? Let's push these back, and let's do a little drawing over the top. All right, so if I've got this character, I like the head is okay, I'm just gonna sketch really quick, and I'm gonna keep this very loose. So, what do we have with the shoulder first? Let's think about that anatomy. We've got, you know, the deltoid has a little bit of a head right here, so we can draw a little bit of a line here, which kind of pushes it in front right there. And it comes back, and then the upper arm, that tricep, overlaps this way, like so, and we get this shoulder coming down like this, and the bicep is here. Okay? And we have the tricep up, a muscle up in here. And so you get this, I can indicate a little bit of a line there. See that overlap like that? And then the forearm actually has, think of the forearm is coming up like this. That flexor muscle. And it overlaps this way. And you're going to see the elbow right in here. We clean this up a little bit. So now look at that arm and how it's coming toward us. That forearm is overlapping the upper arm, which is overlapping the shoulders. See the difference between these two? If I turn this back up again, look at that, and then look at this. You see that difference? That, now all of a sudden that arm is coming forward, okay? So now let's knock this back again. Let's come back up to here. Let's get into the fingers a little bit. Once again, the line following, you know, I drew these lines for the knuckle to overlap the shape so that finger feels like it's coming forward. Same here. Okay? So there's the hand. So there's our arm right here. Upper arm here, shoulder, the deltoid, coming in like this. Our chest, pectoralis muscle, and here's the wrinkles of the suit coming underneath, so that work feels good. Now, look at how everything is overlapping here, and it looks really weird. So let's think about this. And once again, I always say, let's think about this, because that's what drawing is. You got to think about what it is that you're drawing. You got to think about the anatomy. You got to think about perspective. You got to think about a lot of different things. Let's draw his collarbones coming in here, because we know they come back, they connect at the top of the deltoid. So if there's a deltoid here, which is the shoulder, then there's going to be a deltoid here, right there. That comes in like this, it comes into the chest, the pectoralis muscle. And then we have the ribs and the abdomen coming this way. Okay, so there's that. And then the bicep comes this way and comes under the deltoid and in the pectoralis. There's the top head of the flexor muscle. There's the wrist. And we already have the sleeve there. So now that arm is receding away from us. Notice I've added a little bit of a cue right here of the rotating arm. Now think of the arm like this, you know, the one coming towards us. If we break it down into simple shapes, it's a series of these tubes, right? Coming towards us like so. These tubes recede away or come toward us. You know, here's come this way. And then these are receding this way. Okay? And once again, here's the hand. Overlapping shapes for the hand right there. Now, as the body comes down, we come into the hip, and into the trochanter and the pelvis and all that. Here's the hip here. I'm going to indicate a little bit of a line going this way just to show where that leg is going to connect to the body. Some of these wrinkles might come down here like so. Okay. So here's the line for the outside of the leg coming down. Once again, I purposely did this. Notice how the overlapping lines are coming up, and it's completely flattening out the leg. So let's bring this down here. And what's going to happen, the calf is receding away from us as opposed to how the thigh is coming forward. So what we're going to do is create the knee here. And it helps with showing how that leg is coming forward, okay? Now let's overlap the leg this way. I'll put an ankle right here. Think about how the various shapes of the body overlap one another when we're looking at perspective. These are the things that are going to help give your drawings depth. Okay? Don't just think about getting nice lines on the outside or the silhouette of the body. You want to think about what those lines are there conveying. What depth cues are they giving to the viewer to make that drawing more dynamic? So here I have a leg going away from us. So let's bring this thigh down into here, and we'll get a little lines there in the costume that indicate that this part of the leg is in front. Here's the knee. Just like that. Now all of a sudden, this leg is receding away from us. Okay, just by adding these few lines, these wrinkles in the costume. And this line right here, by curving it this way, also helps. And I'm going to overlap the line here, and maybe add a little bit of wrinkle right there. And now that foot is receding away from us as well. Okay? So now let's look at what we've done. I'm going to turn off the new drawing. This is where we were. This is where we started. And like I said, I look at a lot of drawings like this. The line work is beautiful. It's nice and clean. They've got great color, but it's not giving me the full story, and it flattens out. Okay, I can tell by looking at this drawing, if I'm looking at a portfolio, that this artist wasn't really thinking about the anatomy or doesn't know the anatomy well enough, and they need to study more. And here, I've gone and done a drawing over the top that helped with those cues a little bit more. Let me push this back a little bit so we can see that a little better. And so now what we've got are these cues right here indicating anatomy, but also indicating depth. They're indicating what parts of the body are overlapping other parts. And that is what makes your drawing dynamic, feels like it's coming out of the page, makes it feel like it's not ironed onto the page, and it gives it something that tells a better story. Okay? So I hope you learned something. Think about those overlapping shapes. Think about the anatomy and how it overlaps, the different parts like my arm, legs, that sort of thing, especially when you're doing really dynamic poses. It's not just, something's coming closer and therefore it's bigger and other parts receding or smaller. It's about overlapping those shapes, overlapping those body parts. Okay? I hope you learned something. Go on out there, do some really dynamic figure drawing, and I can't wait to talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.